Namaste everyone. Good morning and good evening as usual. Welcome back to Healing Mandolin. Madhuji, welcome. Namaste Praveen.
Namaste Praveen ji, Namaste
Very
Raman.
happy to be back on Healing Mandolin again. Um, since yesterday it is Chaturthi, which is auspicious to Lord Ganesha, I'll start Kriti in the Ragam Saurashtra, Sri Ganapati.
Amazing, sir. Sri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha.
Thank you. We'd like to invite great legendary saxophonist, one of my favorite musicians, and he's worked with all the great legends all over the world. And we recently played before the COVID started. Um, and I always call him that he's more Indian than me. His knowledge about Indian music and the way he worked with the Indian artists. So one and only George Brooks. Namaste ji, welcome.
Namaste, G.
Hey. Namaste sir, how are
Lovely to
you
see
ji?
you. Lovely to hear that music. Beautiful, Kriti,
Thank you.
that you started
Good
with.
morning and thank you for the time. It's too early, I know, in San Francisco.
You know, interestingly, I wake up almost every day exactly at 7 a.m. I don't know why. Just like always the same time. I look at the clock. I'm like, oh, 7 o'clock. So I didn't need my alarm clock. Here it's now it's 8:30. So yeah, I'm often at work by this time.
Amazing.
doing my
Very happy
riyaz.
for you to
Yeah,
show.
thank you. Mr. George, it is a great pleasure. So first we had a discussion like, what should we name this? Then we thought, want to put some creative mind. George Brooks. Brooks is like a small, beautiful stream, but you conquer the whole ocean of music, east and west, and you cross the ocean. So we call Sagaram, saxophone Sagaram, the ocean.
The ocean. Wow. Well, I feel like I'm just taking little teaspoons out of the stream because actually my Guruji Pandit Pranath used to say, music is an ocean, so how much can one person drink? We really just get to take a very small amount, but it's been a great blessing to have a life in music. So
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a blessing to be a musician.
it really is. It really is because we get, I mean, there are a number of things that make it such a blessing. One, we get to be engaged as students, as people who are learning for our entire lifetime. Because even the things that we think we know, at least I find as I get hopefully a little wiser, I see things from a different perspective each time I look at them, even just what a certain note means, what its relationship is to other notes. I mean that can be a lifetime. So we get a lifetime of learning, and we're kind of constantly searching for some sort of truth.
Mhm.
I mean, some people maybe would
Yeah.
call it God, some kind of universal understanding, but it really is there in music for us, especially for those of us who try to look deeply, and some of us who've been blessed to have great teachers who've doors and uh, shown us this kind of entryway into unraveling some of the mystery of the universe. And
Wow.
as I said, it's a tiny amount that we get to see, but it's a lifetime of work. So
Yeah, yeah, very true, very true. It's never ending actually process. Everything, something new you learn in a concert every day. I don't know. It happens to me.
every, every day, every
You
day,
you think you know it, but by the time you go to the next concert, it's like wow, there's another possibility.
and
Very good.
that's what's nice about playing concerts, which is something that we miss because
Yeah,
it takes your work and brings it into focus in real time. And then there's that special kind of magic of interaction with other musicians, where suddenly two people have a simultaneous thought for no reason other than that you've developed that kind of sense of intuition and that sense of awareness and that sense of subtle communication. It's very magical.
true. I mean that happens. The magic happens on the concert. That's what we miss it.
Yeah,
Because however long we practice, once we are on stage, we unknowingly give our 100%. We are like so much into it, and like the energy levels are so high, and the moment we come out of the stage, like wow, that's the feeling we all get, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Judge, we like to hear something from you, and then we start talking. I would like
Okay,
you to play something, and then we'll start.
all right. Let me give a little drone in the background. Can you hear that?
Yes,
Yes, we
yes.
can.
Nice Tanpura. Wow. Amazing, amazing. Thank you.
So divine.
Great.
George, I want to ask
Maruti?
something.
Yes.
Music, as you know, the Carnatic music especially has been a devotional music, has been to dedicated to God. And at the same time, saxophone in the West also has been used in playing in churches for the divine. So please tell us about divinity, playing for God, irrespective of different forms. I was at Sagrada Familia in Spain and the entire Gaudi architecture, mind blowing. Please tell us about divine and the spiritual experiences of you.
Well, I think that's a little bit what I was speaking to earlier, is the I think somebody who's immersed in the arts and who's immersed in music is looking for this essence of universal truth. And some people call it God, some people call it by different names, whether it's Sarasvati, whether it's Allah, whether it's we say I'm Jewish, Adonai is a Hebrew word, there are many different words. I like it sort of described as the divine mystery. So I think that's what we're looking for. You mentioned the Sagrada Familia. I mean, what an unbelievable, that kind of inspiration, you know, for me, I mean, I was involved, I wasn't trained as a musician from a young age, but I was always, listening and singing and, more like kind of pop music and American folk music. But John Coltrane, I don't know if that's a name you know, but one of the great avatars of the saxophone. When I heard his music, that was kind of, I think, the first my first real understanding of how an artist is searching for a spiritual awakening through music. And it wasn't long after that that I started listening to Indian classical music. And that's kind of actually what brought those worlds together, was this kind of the sense that an artist could be a spiritual seeker. That was, and I could hear it in John Coltrane, I could hear it in Hari Prasad Chaurasia, and felt that music. And then meeting my Guruji, who was a deeply spiritual man. I have this picture actually of us back in New Delhi in 1980, and he was a man who
Wow.
yeah, you want to see that again?
Long back. Yes,
Really
yes.
good film.
Amazing, eh?
Yeah,
The Masters.
Wow.
the
So
master. So he
simple.
was he was raised in I mean, he was born in Lahore, Pakistan,
Mhm.
um,
Independence.
before independence. Came across during partition, which was, I think, a devastating time for anybody who experienced it. And he, from a Hindu family with a Muslim teacher, Abdul Wahid Khan Sahib was his Guruji. So he did his puja every day, but with a tasbih and a mala. So he was kind of the essence of uniting spiritual understanding and seeking God through his work. So I had a lot of inspiration and instruction on how to go inward and how to look for spiritual understanding through music.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Amazing. That's amazing experience and then inspiration for the next generation, actually. Thank you.
Hopefully.
And I always enjoy playing with you because the way you understood the Indian raga and Indian techniques, especially when we played in Delhi. You played beautiful Madhuvanti
Yeah.
on one of
Okay.
your pieces in Charkhi. You want to try a little alap kind of thing, Madhuvanti or Charkhi? Which one you want to play?
Um. Let's. What would you like? Do you have a preference?
Madhuvanti sounds like my name.
What? Oh, Madhavanti.
Madhuvanti.
Okay. There we go.
Also, thanks to Rajesh Vaidya ji. He's watching with us. Great musician, Rajesh Vaidya, sir. Thank
Rajesh
you, sir.
Vaidya ji. A lot of artists are watching, and one of the greatest Veena player, Rajesh Vaidya ji, is also watching us. Thank you. Wow. It
Amazing.
keep. I mean, I can't stop playing, especially with you. Like, I still remember we did the last concert before the COVID
Yeah,
in
that was
Dallas. Remember?
my last live performance. We had a wonderful time. We brought Frank Martin from here and up in and it was my first time playing
Remember?
Shriji. It was really nice
PG was there,
program.
and then Aditya was on tabla.
I did, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
We
was
had
an
fun.
amazing evening, and it's
How
a
do,
remembrance concert for my Guruji.
I have a question. The Western music has the notes C, G, and C, E, the concepts, and of course they're the same notes, and we have Sarigama. You mastered both in your mind. How, do you switch when you switch between musics? How do you manage that, sir? How do you visualize?
Um, you know, I I think actually to some extent I think both languages at the same time.
Mhm.
I mean, we play in different keys, which means, I mean, in Indian music, you have more shrutis, but in both systems, we essentially have 12 notes.
Exactly. That's
We have the
and
7 notes, sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa,
yeah.
do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So in my mind, those are they're kind of happening at the same time. If I,
Mhm.
when I play with Indian, the saxophone, one of the things we learn in the West is to be able to use any note as sa, any note as what we call the tonic. So that's part of our practice is to take any idea and play it what we call chromatically. So I know that I'm going saga resa, saga resa, saga resa, saga resa from every sa. But
Mm.
I'm also aware of how those notes relate to the Western key system. So, but in performance with other musicians, what you're doing is responding to them. So you're having a conversation, and I can speak a little bit in each language, so
Mm.
that enables me to have this conversation.
Beautiful. And what is fascinating is even as a layman in music, you're able to express the bhava, the subtlety of the emotion, so intricate and so beautifully defined. We are very thankful. I feel very honored being in the show. Thank you, Rajesh sir. Thank you very much.
No, no, no.
Well, I mean,
It's such an honor and pleasure to play with Georgie because such a legendary musician,
uh,
George. And I always wondered how do we have calculation talam and how he easily takes it and plays wonderful calculations,
well, not
Indian
easily,
style of
but
calculations. That's always amazing.
I would say, that's
I mean,
something
it looks easy.
that, I've had great teachers, but I came to the Carnatic rhythmic language much later in my work. As I said, my Guruji was a khayal vocalist whose focus really was on the notes themselves, the relationship to the notes, expressing raga, the essence of raga. So my first years were really just singing sa and pa, listening to the tambura, learning how to tune it, really hearing what the overtones were. And I think it was around 2000 I was invited. I mean, I was already playing with Zakir Bai, so
Hmm.
a lot of rhythmic information was coming my way. Um, but I think it was around 2000 when Zakir couldn't make a concert with my summit band, and Vikuji came to join us.
Hmm.
So, and the drummer in my band at the time was Steve Smith, who's
Mhm.
very, kind of famous in the rock world for playing with Journey and jazz world for playing with so many groups in his own group. But he had started studying Konakol, and he was interested in in the South Indian rhythmic language. So on that particular tour, he was constantly asking Vikuji for information. And Vikuji, of course, being the beautiful spirit that he is, was generously teaching all of us. So, I just remember sitting in the van going like, takadimmy, 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 takatakita, takadimmy, and going around, learning what the phrases were and learning how you could cross how the rhythms could cross. And, he would make us, Steve's a very quick thinker. So he'd go, wait, can I just go takadimi, 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 takadimi? And he goes, no, you have to do all 8 beats. So that started happening, understanding how to construct Korva, how Korvais were constructed. And again, for me, I do it on the basic level, but understanding reduction. So, and then I started working with a lot more South Indian musicians, and that became part of the language. As I was, thinking about the fact that we were doing this, and I was thinking about how my playing with Srinivas ji was early in my understanding of Carnatic music, and I would love to be able to do it again with a greater understanding, because one of the amazing things about your brother is these Korvais would flow out of him in a way that did not sound like calculations. It would just be kind of how his improvisational language, it just kind of flowed. That's the way he spoke, it would flow out of him. And at that time, I couldn't catch them as quickly as now I start to recognize them. Or if somebody says, actually, what this is that. And I hear the Korvais for what they are. It becomes part of the language. So when I got to sit with Kadriji, sometimes the only information you're going to get is very briefly backstage, and then you're on stage and you have to come up with it. And of course, since those early days of Kadriji, Ganesh Kumaresh, Rajesh Bhai, Srini Ji, Sridhar Parthasarthi, lots of South Indian artists, and of course a lot of work with Selva Ganesh in the last few years. So, and they're all generous teachers. So these ideas come, and then at a very different level, obviously, than a trained Carnatic musician, you just start to think these melodies come in ways that express some of those reductions or expansions, or T-high language, if you want to call it that. These elements start to creep into both my composition and a little bit into my improvisation, I hope.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, for the audience who are watching, Sir Rajesh sir, for the audience we are watching, Rajesh sir, I'm just saying, so George Brooks is in Berkeley, in California, most free-spirited place in entire California. Like, people love to be liberal. They want to explore the world. The Berkeley itself is like that. And with that, a lot of fusion happens, a lot of thinking happens there in real life. I would like to request Rajesh sir and you maybe explore some hidden trails for all of us. We are really, really looking forward to both of you playing. I don't know, whatever you both
Before
like.
that, in fact, before that, I would like to share, George, remember we played a show in Clarksdale, which is a
Yes.
birthplace of blues, Ground Zero, remember?
Yes, of
You were
course.
the savior, because totally non-Indian crowd, and it was like, for me, it's like a completely different atmosphere, because it's completely not even an Indian listeners were there. I mean, amazing. The concert went well, but it was like an amazing experience. You remember that?
Of course I remember it. It was just 1 year. I mean, it was 1 year ago this summer. And that's
Correct.
that's kind of it was actually eye-opening for me. That's the Mississippi Delta, which is both the birthplace of the blues, but also, has a pretty terrible history of of uh, of racism, for lack of a better word. I mean, it's a you know, the South was Civil War, slavery, um, and still a lot of people in the South believe that this is, you know, a heritage that they should be proud of, and that's very problematic. But I hadn't seen it close up, so actually to see this beautiful organization that had been started by the uh, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a little blank here, but the People Shores program that was happening there was bringing together Black Americans, White Americans, Indians who had settled in the area. I mean, it was really it was very heartwarming to see that happening. So that it meant a lot, both kind of musically and a little bit of my understanding of what's happening in this country. Because as somebody who lives, as you say, in spirited,
Yeah.
tolerant, cosmopolitan Berkeley, who grew up in free-spirited, cosmopolitan New York, my understanding of the United States is kind of colored by where I've lived. And I was going to say, I mean, I think what you were saying, part of what's been helpful in my journey is that Northern California has been a center for Indian classical music since the 60s, when Ali Akbar Khan set up his college and Zakir Hussain moved here, and actually Shankar Ghosh, Bikram's father, was here. Ravi Shankar came and taught at that school. So there's been, you know, this has been just kind of a very fertile area for cross-cultural collaboration. So it kind of made some sense that somebody like me might be comfortable living here.
Yes, sir.
Selvaji is saying hi.
It's
He's
Rajesh, sir.
sending hi to both of us.
You say that?
Selvaji is saying hi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my brother.
Sorry, Madhuji was saying something.
No, a lot to learn from Mr. George Brooks, because human beings, as we are born, they say, what is water to fish is culture to people. We are born in one culture and we are limited. We dared cross these waters, travel through the river and ocean, east and west, at the same time, colored people, non-colored people. Jazz music has roots in African origins, and colored people were playing, and you had music has made you see the whole universality of the soul. It's a journey of the soul for your music. We feel very humbled, and it's a very inspiring to know you have what all you have done, traveling worldwide, internal travel also worldwide.
Yeah, no, that's been one of the greatest blessings of my life, is that I've had the opportunity not just to see other countries and other cultures, but to be inside them a little bit. If you're going to sit with a musician, you have to have that, you have to open your mind up to understanding their worldview. Um, you know, you communicate heart to heart. So, you know, yeah, you get to be, I've always, I mean, I've never been fond of being a tourist somewhere, to go somewhere and look at something. I mean, it is beautiful, but once you interact with the people from that culture, it's for me, a much richer experience, a much deeper experience.
Beautiful. Thank you.
A little bit of hidden trails. Did a
Well,
little alap and then go into this.
yeah, I think. Oh, so are you gonna play? Are you gonna you're gonna play rhythmically as well? Satablik?
Not really. It's
Yeah,
just
I
like
think.
more like a alap kind of thing.
Yeah, because I think I could see during the alap exchange that there's a good second or two between my information going there and it coming.
Yeah, sure.
But
क्या बात है. Amazing. Such a lovely experience always to play with you. I mean, we miss this to play on stage.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to. There is a question for you, George. They're asking, can you share your experience working with Srinivas sir on Sanjanita album?
Well, that was
that album.
One of the greatest albums.
What I can't quite remember is how he got in touch with me.
Ah.
You know, I can't remember if he called me while I was in America or if he called me while I was already in India, in Chennai. But he invited me to the house, which was very nice. I don't. You weren't there. I'm not sure where you were.
No, I was there. I wasn't there. I was traveling.
Okay. But I came and I met your father, which was really nice. And your father is a clarinet player, correct?
Yes. He's a clarinet player.
So he was very intrigued by the saxophone. So he came to the session, and I remember, I seem to recall there being kind of an easy piece and a hard piece. And of course he was like, I want you to play the hard piece. And it was a raga I hadn't been familiar with. And I was like, oh God, could I take this home and work on it for a week and come back. But of course, we recorded it there, and the album is full of many of my heroes. I mean, the musicianship on the album is amazing. So there was a certain amount of pressure in that way for me, but Sriniji was very relaxed, super relaxed in the studio, and I would finish playing a solo, and he would look at me and go, "Was that good?" I'd be like, "Wait, you're supposed to tell me." But he was very, just kind of open to whatever I was going to offer as an artist, and that was lovely. And then we also were able to do a few concerts together, which was great. So, I mean, one of the great opportunities of working with wonderful musicians is not just the performance, but sometimes even more is the development stage when you sit there and rehearse. And that's where I got to see a little bit more of how his mind would work. The kind of level of spontaneous creativity combined with the outstanding virtuosity is really, it's just great to be so close. When you're with somebody who is brilliant, you sometimes get to, it's like kind of screen sharing. You find yourself a little bit like their thought process kind of affects the way you think. Like their ideas suddenly appear so clear to you. Now, when you leave, only echoes of that may remain, but when you're in the presence of somebody who's truly brilliant, somehow there's an overlay of their brilliance that kind of sits on your brain, and it does opens your mind to kind of thinking the way they think. You get a sense of that clarity. I see that, when I go to a workshop with Zakir Bhai, and he's teaching his tabla students, the same thing happens. You go, "Oh yes, I'm thinking that." And then you leave and you go, "Wait, no, I wasn't really thinking that." But they can put, it's like their thought process overlays your own. And it was definitely like that with your brother. Just the way the melodies would flow in such a natural way. And of course, he's gifted in a way that he thinks something and then it comes out perfectly. And I remember watching a Shakti rehearsal. I'm not sure which year this was, but they hadn't played together in a couple of years at the time. And it was Sriniji, Selva, Zakir, and John. And it was at somewhere in Mumbai. They had gotten together. It was the first time in a couple of years. And they'd start playing a piece at those crazy tempos that they'd play at. And they'd be playing, and then they'd come to a place where they had would have a slight disagreement on the notes. And John would go, "Oh, I thought it went like this." Sriniji would go, "No, but I thought it went like this." And they'd be like, "Okay, let's do it that way." and I'd be like, "Wait, don't you want to go like da, da, da?" But they would just hear it at that tempo. It would just be as clear to them as day. And then they would, the next time they'd both play it exactly that way at some crazy tempo with subtle rhythmic complexities. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I think it's just 2004, if I'm not wrong. That's the concert you're saying.
That sounds about right.
I think Shanmugananda, if I'm not wrong. I was there at the concert.
This wasn't the concert. This was the rehearsal before, though.
Yeah, but that was the Shakti first time in
when they
Remember Shakti.
Yeah, that was Remember Shakti.
Yeah, amazing.
Unbelievable. I love listening to all
That's what I see. I also see that about you. All the Indian festivals are always without you. I mean, like, it's always you're in all the best Indian festivals. There's George Brooks in it.
Wow.
It's a beautiful connection. I think every year almost you play, and almost most of the concert we get to play with the Banyan.
Banyan tree, and so many of them in Chennai, and
we didn't.
What is your favorite food, Mr. George? You have been in touch with so much Indian culture. What do you like in Indian food?
I really like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then snacks also. You know, I'm very broad in my taste. So I really like, yeah, I like it all. I've yeah, there's so much that I enjoy. One of the things I remember, actually, Mahesh Vinayak Ram took me to a kind of like an Ayurvedic vegetarian restaurant somewhere in Chennai. Everything was served on banana leaves, and it was like 3 or 4 courses, but and every course had like 5 or 6 dishes, and it went from being sort of raw food to partially cooked food to fully cooked food. And I remember one of the things that amazed me was the variety of dishes made from every part of the banana plant. I don't, banana stem, banana flower, things that I didn't realize could be done with a banana. That was,
Banana Republic. There we go.
and, luckily I enjoy chilies and I enjoy coconut and, all
You're okay with spicy food then. You're totally.
spicy food is fine. California was part of Mexico, and that's where chilies originated in South America. So we eat a lot of chilies here all the time. I mean, that's I always say if my tongue isn't dancing, then I don't feel like I've had the proper amount of chilies.
One thing I would like to ask to George is like, how do you keep your cool? You're always smiling and, you know, very beautiful smile on stage. And never seen you like, in a very bad mood or, and always, I mean, whenever we performed or traveled, it's like so beautifully keep your calm and very serene. And then even on stage, you're like, something goes wrong. You only musicians understand. You're like, okay.
I think that's just, maybe I've just been blessed with a kind of an even temperament. I tend to stay pretty positive. I I do know that if things go wrong, generally they're going to go better afterwards. Obviously I get frustrated like other people, but I consider myself very fortunate in this lifetime. I think also my
Definitely.
parents, a lot of it I think has to do with your upbringing. My mother was an extremely optimistic person in any situation, and my father had an extremely calm demeanor and was somebody, he was a journalist in New York City, um, and actually all over the country for worked till he was actually till a month before he died at 87. So he was and was somebody who was always also kind of growing and learning because being a reporter he got to interact with a lot of different parts of life and different types of people and was very open to hearing their stories. So I think that made him kind of an accepting person, and maybe that's part of why I'm accepting. I've also managed to be married for like 40 years, which I think you learn about keeping, understanding that there are ups and downs and understanding that your perspective isn't always the right one. So, trying to be a harmonious individual. I have 3 kids. They all like me. So, you know, trying, it's just I don't know. I don't know how I stay calm, but I do. And of course, I think doing a daily practice like we do, musical practice, listening to tones, having time going inward, it's a yoga, it's a pranayama. And I do some, when I'm in my better phases, I do a yoga type practice.
Mhm.
So that helps, I think, calm the mind, calm the spirit.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I would like you to advise to the young generation, next students, young artists.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, times are changing dramatically, as at least from what I've seen, as how artists, what they have to do to make a living. Because I know that's something that every, if I do a workshop for young people, they're like, well, how do you make a living? And that's a big part of what concerns young people. And in these days when record contracts don't pay anything and royalties don't pay very much, and people believe that music should be something they get for free. It's more challenging. But I do believe that every generation faces different challenges, and that the younger people coming up do figure out a way to adjust to whatever parameters are changing. Um, I do think it's important not to think. I mean, I think the internet has changed things where people think they have to become famous very quickly, and that's
Yeah, social media craziness.
social media, and just the phenomenon, not just social media, but also all these America's Got Talent and India's Next Great Star, and England's Got all these shows that take somebody and they're constantly doing things to get applause and get people to vote for them and click how much they like them. And although it's a challenge, I think if you can really look in, that idea of looking inward, that idea of having your art serve a higher purpose or a higher power, depending on, what your perspective is. It's not about drawing attention to yourself. Now, obviously, if we get up on stage, we are people who like having a certain amount of attention. We do thrive on that, the feedback with other musicians, the feedback from the audience. But you have to constantly work to kind of suppress that and understand what you're really going for. And Rajesh Bhai, like you brought me to Mudanale for Sai Baba's 90th birthday, right?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
that
Yeah.
was
90th birthday.
huge gathering, whatever, 10,000 people or something there. And that was really instructive for me, because in that situation, which is very kind of spiritually elevated, emotionally elevated, it was a big lesson for me on, like, okay, how do I deal with my ego in this situation? How do I suppress both the fear of being in a situation like that? Am I going to do a good job? Can I live up to the expectation? Are people going to like, these are the kinds of things that as an artist, the more you can go inward, the more you can look to seeking kind of truth with your art, you can try to erase that and just be present in the moment, be present with the supreme mystery, the supreme being. It's a very, we get to work with these things a lot. So, as you say, talking to the younger generation, look for ways to suppress the ego. We're in a very ego stroking moment, where you've got people who don't really do anything having millions of followers on Twitter and YouTube, what they call these influencers. I mean, really silly things that happen that get a great deal of media attention and public attention. So the young people, they have to look for what's of true value in, especially in the world of arts, I'm speaking, what is, and it's tough. I mean, you say, like, and let the chips fall where they may, as they say, but I know people have to make a living. They have to figure out a way to survive, and it's not easy. But if you work on the craft, if you work on the purpose behind the craft, if you go beyond ego, I think you can find, hopefully you can find a way to make it through the world. And don't have too many material expectations. That's not up to you. I mean, that really happens. It's a little bit out of
True.
your
True.
hands. It's a little bit out of your hands.
Great advice, George. I totally agree with you. That's very, very important. Very, very important. And it's, in fact, it's an inspiration to me as well. I should be also learning what you
Eye
said,
opener for
because
all of
it's
us.
very true.
Yeah.
Anything which I don't know, I should agree, and one should have that attitude to learn, which we don't know.
Yes.
I think it's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I mean, we are lifelong students, because
True.
let's say you've mastered Carnatic music. You can start looking to other things that are new. You can probably still look at Carnatic music and find that you haven't
I don't think
mastered
so. It's easy
it.
to master Carnatic music in one lifetime.
Yeah, none of these musics are easy to master. That's the thing. I mean, I look at Hari Prasad Chaurasia, right, who I've had the good fortune of working with over maybe 20 years now. Anytime I'd be like in a hotel, he'd be in his room practicing before the concert, after the concert. And uh, in his biography, I read something where he said he wants to be born again every lifetime doing playing the bansuri till he gets it, till he becomes Lord Krishna, till it's just like
Wow.
perfection. And that level of dedication to somebody who to me already is touching God every time he plays a note, but it's that, the Zen, I think, talk about beginner's mind. You always want to have that level. Zakir talks about it. I'm a student. People, that's his thing, lifelong student. And, back to my Guruji saying it's an ocean, how much can you drink? Even if you have a cup or a gallon, there's a
True,
teaspoon.
very true.
Yeah. So,
Beautiful,
When we do
beautiful.
mistakes, like we are not perfect either in music or in life, how do you suggest we deal with it when we want to be perfect? We are not perfect. Going back and trying, how do you suggest? What is your suggestion?
well, again, this is the learning process. I think, and again, the ego. Um, I know I will make mistakes. I mean, that's one of my frustrations as a musician. I'm not perfect. I'm not a virtuoso. You know, I'm not somebody who gets it right every time. And I think the same is true in life. So you have humility
Mhm.
and you try to see, what did you do to go wrong? I mean, I know often in performance for me, it's that this voice in the back of my mind is chattering about things that are maybe irrelevant to whatever I'm playing, or I worry. I go, oh God, things are going too well. I better mess up.
Mhm.
I mean, we have a lot of our limitations are our own ego, critical voice, things like that. And in relationship, it's usually, as somebody once said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Hmm.
So, you know, it's this it's this idea of saying, oh, wait, maybe I'm not right. Maybe there's another way to perceive a situation. I mean, you can look at, it's that glass, is the glass half empty, is the glass half full? It's really a matter of perspective. So, as an artist, I'd say, if you look at a place where you regularly mess up, work on those weaknesses, or maybe develop your music in a way that you develop your strengths more. And, if there's some weaknesses that you really work on consciously and they don't get a whole lot better, maybe there's a way to kind of pivot away from them and develop things, your strengths where they are.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, George. Thank you so much for your time and then such a learning experience. A lot of things I myself learned. Like such an experienced person. You're a great legendary player, versatile artist. It's as you said, every day is a learning process. And thank you for coming, especially early for you, and inspiring a lot of young musicians, inspiring me also. In fact, thank
Well,
you,
good. Well,
George G.
it's been very nice for me. I really appreciate having this time with you since we can't be together, and I don't have the opportunity to tell you that potatoes are in fact carbohydrates.
I know, I
Get
know.
those French fries off your plate.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
yeah.
you.
I really miss that part. I miss being on stage. I miss even the difficult aspects of travel and the strange foods that we sometimes have to eat while we're traveling. But it's all part of living together as musicians. So I think that's a big part of what makes the music great is you get to know people and you get to feel who they are and try to you develop these little families of musicians.
Beautiful.
Yeah, true, true,
Beautiful.
true.
So
Thank you so much.
thank you for
Thank you, George
inviting
G.
me.
Thank you, Madhuji. Thank you for all. Thank you, audience, for coming. And have a wonderful day for you. Good
Thank
night.
you. I
Namaste.
will.
Thank you.
Namaste, Ji.
Thank you, Georgie.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.